Okay, let's have a close look at Andrew Bustamante, supposedly ex-CIA. I've been watching him for a little while now, and been watching him just to get a bit of a baseline on him, just so I can read him a bit better. He's definitely some kind of intelligence officer. Whether it's CIA, I don't know. CIA, FBI, Mossad, some kind of clandestine multi-intelligence liaison of some sort, some kind of a blacklist dark operative. There's more than just FBI and CIA, so, you know. Now, as soon as we get into the question, the way he answers the question, it's to add validity to the question. It's his way of adding validity to the question, whether it's valid or not. It's a valid question, but the way he answers it, this is why I think he's some kind of part of a propaganda machine of some sort. Because he's very convincing in his body language and demeanour that I'm starting to notice patterns. Yeah, I'm a pattern man, as we know. I'm a pattern person. I'm noticing patterns in his line of I'm noticing patterns in the way that he answers some certain questions and his line of questioning. So let's go.
We divided into multiple parts. Let's say CIA as an operation, forming, controlling, making and breaking different governments around the world. That's one thing. Then 800 military stations all around the world covering the military power. That's one. Then data colonization by controlling the data of the world by what you said, covert operation, making sure that countries fight with each other. Then there's economic colonization in some way that you give people certain debt, money, control their economies or put sanctions and bunch of stuff. Let's go one by one.
Yeah.
Why do they do this? Okay, and what's the real reason behind it?
It's I love that you're going down this road because it's so interesting. And I'm happy to talk about why and how we do it because everybody will understand that other countries do it to each other also. It's just that for the United States.
Right. I'm glad you asked that question because it's such a good question. Twice he reaffirmed that the person asking the question that it's a great question. And in the format that he asked the question. And yeah, it is. But you just got double assured that they were great questions, even by the fact that you already probably think they're going to be good questions. Otherwise you wouldn't be watching it. So you just got affirmed 3 times that that's a great question before he's even answered it. And then he's thanked him for asking that question. That's the badge of honour. Let's keep going down that road. Why? Because now you feel all warm and fuzzy about that question. You're going to keep that line of questioning running, which can curve you away from asking a certain question that you don't want asked. It's how the police work.
We're the easiest person or the easiest country to watch because we're the largest country.
Also because you do it at scale which is McNabb's.
And the best place to start is to understand right now there's only one global superpower. Only one. It's the United States. Everybody else is trying to rise up to the level of the United States. So that seems very unfair for every other country. Why does America have all the wealth? Why does America have all the freedom? Why does America have all of this information, right? It seems very unfair. But put yourself in the shoes of the American government. The American government knows it actually has no friends. There is no other country out there that will cover our back. Every other country in the world wants to see the United States diminished.
Yep, that's pretty right.
Because the weaker the United States gets, the better everybody else gets. That's the way everybody wants it to be. Again, it's just like at work. everybody hates the boss because the boss makes the most money, the boss has the most power. Well, in geopolitics, everybody hates the United States because the United States has the most power and has the most money.
Right. I'm going to end that there just there. I'm going to try and make it short and sweet if I can. Why? Oh, God, I've got to find this now. Where are we? There was the... Excuse me, s'il vous plaît. Righties, where are we? Not that one. Oh, where are we? This one? Yes. Okay.
Yeah. We should know what's actually going on.
Put together this.
I did everything right and they indicted me. And I don't know what the I'm doing. Antifa!
But quick disclaimer. I do not necessarily side with, agree with, or disagree with, confirm nor deny comments in this. Don't know that much about it, but one thing is in here, and we'll watch a bit of it if I can find it. Why? Because it shows something very obvious. Sound. Where's that sound? Oh, yeah. Come on, Katie, get it together.
Hello and welcome to the Katie Halper Show. We are so thrilled to be here, and thank you so much for joining. That was a new intro. Thank you so much to Brad for that intro.
She looks like Benjamin Netanyahu.
That was, of course,
me,
nice music under the wonderful words of President Donald Trump. So now that it is 1 year into the administration, we decided to take out the old, bring in the new, get rid of the Joe Biden music that we usually use. And we are finally, I guess, we're facing reality and the fact that Donald Trump is president. So thank you, Brad, for that. We have an excellent show for you today, and we have another person who's coming in onto the show who we just added, so we're extremely excited. And let's see, I'm going to tell you about the people who are joining us during the second half. So during the second half of the show, we are talking to Ali Vargas, who's been on the show before. He is a Bolivian journalist who is currently based in Beijing. He's going to talk to us about the way that the Venezuela attack, the attempted regime change, the kidnapping, how that's affecting the rest of Latin America and what other Latin American leaders and people are doing in response to this. We're also going to be joined by Chris Gilbert, who is a professor of political studies at the Universidad Bolivariana de Venezuela. And he is in Caracas right now, and that's where he's based. And he's going to talk to us about literally what's happening on the streets of Venezuela right now. Also, please don't forget to hit subscribe and press the bell. That way you won't miss any of the streams that we do. For instance, Wednesday I'll be doing an extra stream on Pakistan, because that is a subject that gets really neglected, as people probably notice, by even leftist media. So I'll be talking to the sister of Bushra Bibi Bushra, who is the sister. Sorry, I'll be speaking to that sister, Mariam, who is the sister of Bushra Bibi, and she is the wife of Imran Khan. So she's
Imran Khan. Who remembers Imran Khan, the Pakistan cricket captain, who was president of Pakistan? Yeah. You can't be forgetting these little chunks of history, people.
In jail with Imran Khan. So we're going to be getting some great interviews tomorrow. Also, Hassan Ali, who's a journalist based in Pakistan, and a lawyer, a barrister, who's part of close to Imran Khan, who has had his home burned down. So many great things happening. Again, that's why you want to hit subscribe and then press the bell. Also, please like the stream if you haven't already liked the stream. It really does help the algorithm. And make sure that you become Patreon supporters, because we literally couldn't do the show without your Patreon support. And you can do that at patreon.com/The Katie Halper Show. Again, that's patreon.com/The Katie Halper Show. And we are going to bring on our first two guests. Very, very excited to be bringing them back onto the show. They've both been on the show, but this is the first time that they're coming on together. So this is a historic moment. We are bringing onto the show Greg Stoker and Mike Preisner. Greg is a former United States Army Ranger with a background in special operations and human intelligence collection. He conducted 4 combat deployments to Afghanistan during the unfortunately named Global War on Terror and is now an anti-war activist.
How do you send a clandestine operator all over the world with diplomatic immunity without anybody knowing? Well, you got religious diplomatic immunity and you send them as a sports celebrity. Straight under the radar.
Host of the Colonial Outcast podcast and an analyst at Mint Press News. So welcome, Greg.
A great way to win more sales is to build out features your market wants. The best way to do this is with a simple
Get
service.
the hell off my
your
bloody
needs.
screen.
You can easily do this yourself.
Hello, Greg.
This guy says a couple of
Oh,
things
my
mic's on.
worth listening to.
Thanks for having me on. Great to be here as always.
Of course, thank you. And also joining is Mike Preisner, who joined the Army 3 months before 9/11, and in March 2003 was part of the invasion of Iraq. After 12 months in the occupation, he became an outspoken opponent of the war and became known for speeches, protests, and veterans organizing against U.S. imperialism. Since 2015, he has been the producer and co-writer for Abby Martin's show, The Empire Files, and is also the host of Eyes Left, a socialist anti-war military podcast. And Mike is co-director with Abby Martin of the excellent documentary, Earth's Greatest Enemy. So welcome, Mike and Greg. Thanks so much for joining.
Hello.
Hello. So I would love to start out by asking you what you think the world needs to know about what is happening in Venezuela based on your military experiences or based on your analysis of the military.
I guess we're doing chicken. Who's gonna go first?
I mean, I can start really quickly. I mean, I don't have any real military expertise outside of also being sent to a regime change oil war as a teenager, though that ended up being quite a big debacle. So that's where that's really where my expertise lies on that military stuff. I do want to say though that one thing that I have seen the most, like looking at things the past couple days, I'm sure Greg can speak to this also, is that the operation kind of proved that it was an inside job of sorts, that there had to have been collaboration from within the Venezuelan military, the Venezuelan government, to let these special operations soldiers come in, not a single American casualty, no U.S. helicopter shot down, capture the head of state, a heavily guarded head of state of another country. And I think that is an interesting indicator of how, I think people...
Yeah, indicators, people, indicators. Look for the indicators of clandestination and indicators of skullduggery and shenanigans, Not that I like to jump straight into things straight away unless I have background knowledge or information on something, which this is something I kind of do, as you've already probably figured. These are some things that I was picking up on straight away. It's only after a few days I started to say, 80 people were killed, and these people, we can neither confirm nor deny those stats, can we?
Recognize that the United States is the biggest, most powerful military in the world.
Secondly, also, what did I say? It was an extraction, not a kidnapping. Yeah, I don't think Maduro's doing it that hard. I don't think much will come of it. It's a good way it's a good way to flex a small muscle and make it look big. People flex their muscle like that, but they'll stick their thumb there to make it look bigger.
And with the most advanced elite special operations and most heavily armed and well-funded special operations and intelligence services in the world. And so really, when you look at a country like Venezuela, that is a poor country that doesn't have anywhere near the arsenal, the training and things like that the U.S. has, people can kind of know in their minds that the U.S. has a very powerful military, but then when a very powerful military carries out a surprise attack very effectively, they're a little bit surprised. And so I think it's not surprising to me. And of course, we don't know all the details, and we know that a number, close to 80 people were killed. Like his entire security detail was massacred. It kind of isn't surprising to me that the most elite of the U.S. Special Operations were able to bombard the country after training for a very long time on mock replicas of the presidential palace. So I don't know, Greg, if you agree, but I feel like it doesn't look like there was inside collaboration. It looks like just this is what the U.S. military can do. The full weight of the U.S. military can do.
Yeah, I kind of grew up in that community. When I was in Ranger Regiment, like a couple of my squad leaders ended up going to Delta Force. We did joint operations with them. It's just like very, very suspect that that went on without like any hitches, no casualties on the U.S. side. I think I don't know. Kind of when these type of operations happen, like the actual circumstances surrounding what actually happened gets like teased out over time. So it's really hard to make a determination. From what I'm seeing and what I believe is that it's still a very dynamic situation, and we can give a lot of supposition. But I think what's important to talk about, especially with regards to like the propaganda coming out of Washington, if we're going to stay like strictly military about this, I do want to talk about the use of special operations as military propaganda to project strength, military strength, when it doesn't actually exist in the way that people think it does. And that's been happening since the Vietnam War. So, like, right now, there's a lot of, what I call NatSec psychos, really, like, high on their own supply, talking about how incredible this operation was. Cybercom was involved. They shut down, like, all the internet so nothing could really get out. They shut down air defense systems through electronic warfare, and there was also airstrikes, and it's just like no other military could accomplish this. Yeah, that's true, but it also masks the fact that we have an absolutely critical munition storage and can't wage high intensity conflicts. So we do have a really elite special operations force, but we're losing in a lot of other fields, like full spectrum dominance. This fascination with the unipolar moment and being able to project power and dominance throughout the world, that no longer exists. That is a failed mission right now. But we still do have these elite forces that need massive infrastructure to back them up. As Mike was talking about, you just had this huge intelligence apparatus. You had to construct training facilities that looked what we call like glass houses, maybe, that looked exactly like the inside of the building. Generally, you get that information through human intelligence sources, unless you can find a way to get the blueprints, which is generally doesn't really happen. And then all this happened, and Maduro got captured by Delta Force, handed over to the DEA, and now he's being tried. But like, that really is the extent of it. Like, we're showing that we can, with impunity, gunboat diplomacy, gangster imperialism, whatever you want to call it, we can extraordinarily rendition anybody we want. But that doesn't mean we're capable of waging these, wars like in Iran or over the Strait of Taiwan. But it is a good propaganda piece, absolutely. And that's kind of what I see, because we've been using special operations through that lens to project strength throughout the Vietnam War when we were clearly losing it. Everybody knew we were. And so, to me, just from that lens, it's kind of more of the same thing.
Yeah, we won't really know what happened until all the Navy SEALs involved write their own books.
But there weren't SEALs involved, so we're not going to get any books.
Oh, no, sad. Oh, well, that would have been the key right there. But no, Greg brings up a good point, too, that, I think in some ways the reason, this is the Trump...
Start with that. I think you get the picture, don't you? Yeah, come back down here. Come back down. Oh, yeah, big dollar production. You're starting to get the picture, aren't you? Where did we see that recently? Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. Jake Paul wanted a shot at the title that he couldn't really get to, and how do we justify this? How do we make this happen? How do we make people think we're tough? Maybe even get into the head of his next opponent to make him think he's tougher than he is. Oh, how dopey is the world, how easy is it to keep people occupied talking about a nothing burger of a fight that wasn't real. One thing, it made Jake Paul look tougher than he was. Made Mike Tyson show how much of a fraud that he is. And they both got paid. It was a show of might that they don't really have, I think. Oh, fuck, did you see that? Bam, 3 hours, over and done with. And they managed to do this and this and that and this and that. And those things. Bam. And nothing anyone can do about it. And it took days for, well, I was asking questions. I was asking questions directly to certain people. Where's all the humanitarianists? All the Nuremberg trials people and the Geneva Convention people. Where are all those people? All we're hearing about it is economics this, narco-terrorism that. Here's a question. What's a narco-terrorist? Isn't that a terrorist that has a terrorist agenda that sells drugs to fulfill his terrorist agenda? Secondly, also to use those drugs to destabilise a country? What's Maduro's terrorist agenda? If he doesn't have a terrorist agenda, then he's just a drug dealer. Allegedly. Unlike when the United States flooded China with heroin, back in the day, through the CIA. Oh yeah, that's a thing. That's a real thing. To try and destabilise China. Why? Because America never really had all that much might. They were just the ones left with the most stuff at the end of the game with World War II, because they were the last ones to enter. They came in, done a couple of things, dropped a couple of bombs, pop, it was over. But they had enough left over to keep going and stuffing around with things like Vietnam, which they, like this bloke said, they clearly had no hope of winning. In Vietnam, there was only one bunch of soldiers that the Vietnamese were worried about, and that was the Australians. Because we were still used to actually building a country with our hands at that time. I shouldn't say we, I wasn't there. But those soldiers were also the people that were building the country. We're talking farmers and engineers and riggers and all that sort of stuff. People that were used to clearing bushland to build a farm. Ploughing through rocks with horses. Like tough bastards. Chopping down trees with axes. And double-ended swords. Saws. Rip saws, I think they'll call it, aren't they? Double-ended rip sword. A two-man rip sword. Rip saw, God. Not a sword, it's a saw. It's just a small piece out of the big puzzle that's uploading. I can't wait till that's uploaded, so I know it's uploaded successfully, because that'll probably be the most important video I've ever done out of nearly 300 now, because it shows you the end picture. Yeah, it's a little bit longer than this one. This will probably be uploaded first, we'll see. Believe nothing to what you hear and half what you see, people, and even question that to the buggery. Pick it to pieces, read between the lines, and then put that in order.